Welcome to What the Mom podcast. You are listening to Doulas Petra
and Jacqueline.
Motherhood can be isolating and hard.
We are two doulas that want to provide a place that's safe to talk about all things mom.
From pregnancy to birth to postpartum to parenting.
Join us as we have real conversations about real life.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, you're listening to
What the Mom
podcast.
It's a little late. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm Petra.
And I'm Jacqueline. And it is 11:39.
Yeah, that's how we roll, you guys.
We roll this way most nights.
We've been enjoying having our podcast in person together, so we're just having our sleepovers.
Yeah, it's been so fun. So today we're going to share with you what to expect in your first trimester of pregnancy.
Yes, we decided we're going to break up the trimesters into different podcasts because there's a lot to cover.
Absolutely, so much.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So, Jacqueline, when you get a positive test, how far along are you at that point?
You know what's crazy is I found out at 3 weeks pregnant.
I
just
early?
knew. I found out super early.
You had a positive test early?
I did. Most people, though, it's 4 weeks, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They consider the day of your missed period 4 weeks already.
Yeah. But technically, if you get a test, that's what first response. It can be
some of them can
like
test
10
early.
days before. Yeah, exactly.
What did they do in the days before pregnancy tests at home?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
We don't know what that's like.
I have no idea. I just know that I always took a test because I didn't believe it.
I think a lot of women do. And then you have a positive test and then you go pee on like 5 more tests.
My last, I was expecting that I was going to get pregnant, but because it happened so fast, I didn't believe it. So I took 7 tests.
That's crazy.
7! My husband's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just didn't believe it.
It's a money-making market.
Absolutely. That's why I get them from the dollar store.
It's true. Every single one of my pregnancies, I had dollar store tests.
You know what's funny is everyone's like, well, those aren't accurate. Actually, do you think they're going to use expensive pregnancy tests when they're going to test you in a doctor's office? Of course not. They're taking your pee. They tell you, please, ma'am, can you pee in a cup? And then they dip it and they test it and then they tell you you're pregnant. Mm-hmm. So they would not be using digital tests. There's no way.
It's true.
It's too expensive.
So if you're not taking a test or if you have not yet had a positive test, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer for some people, maybe we should talk about some of the symptoms you can maybe use to recognize whether you were planning to get pregnant or not, either way.
I would say you're tired.
Mm-hmm. More tired than normal.
I was nauseous.
Yeah, nauseousness kind of goes hand in hand, I think, with morning sickness.
Well, yeah, because
which is a misnomer because it's not just morning.
It's not.
It's 24-hour sickness.
Where did they get that name, morning sickness?
I think it's actually because
I wonder
when you wake up in the morning, your stomach's empty, and you're more likely to be sick with an empty stomach.
That is true. Exactly.
But
that makes sense.
It definitely happens any time of the day or night.
Yeah. And it can happen all through your pregnancy. You give birth, which I'm grateful that was not me.
It's most common in the first trimester, though, because of all the hormonal changes.
Yeah.
Did you have it with all of your pregnancies?
It was more noticeable with my first, I would say. With my third, I really didn't have any. With my second, I was nauseous here and there, but it wasn't like horrible. Mm-hmm. But my third time, I didn't have any, which was shocking. And I was just like, thank you, good Jesus, for that, because that's awful.
Yeah, not everyone has it.
Especially when you have kids and you have to parent them and you can't get out of bed. Like, how do you do that?
If it's not your first, it's much better.
Absolutely.
I remember before I had a positive test with my first, I was in nursing school, and my husband was driving me to my practicum. I was like the very end of nursing school when I got pregnant.
That's crazy.
And he was driving me to the hospital for my practicum, and I remember we were driving. I was totally fine, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I feel like I'm going to puke. Pull over. So he pulled over. And I was like, almost ready to puke, like super nauseous. And I couldn't puke. I'm like, oh, that was weird. Okay. And then he drove another couple blocks. I'm like, oh, wait, pull over again. He pulled over and I puked. And then I was totally fine for the rest of the day. I was like, I don't know. It totally lined up with like implantation timing in the end.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh, yeah, when you look back and when you actually know what to look for.
But I didn't believe it was related to pregnancy because it was, again, I was very blessed with getting pregnant pretty quickly.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, no, you know, a lot of times people say it'll take a long time. And I was on
you were on the pill, were you
birth
not?
control pill before that. I came off it, and I've heard that people said that
it can take forever.
A long time. I was very blessed, and it didn't, but that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, no, you absolutely could take up to a year.
And then I did not have any morning sickness at all during that pregnancy.
Just that, like, one time, just to basically tell you that you were pregnant? Is that when you tested?
No, because this was still too early.
Oh, my gosh.
I tested the day my period was due.
Most people do.
Yeah. And then my second, I had a little bit of nausea, but I didn't actually throw up at all. My third, I had one day of really, really bad nauseousness.
I remember you said that.
And then my fourth actually wasn't that bad. It was a little bit of nausea, but not that bad. Yeah.
Your body's like, well, I've done this
before. That's a very popular symptom, I'd say. Anything that could be like PMS, unfortunately,
it totally
can be also pregnancy symptoms. So, like, maybe your skin, you break out with acne, maybe you get cramping, maybe you get bloating and gas.
Yeah. Hoping it's not gas. Just kidding.
Not if you're with me. Sleeping over. Mood swings, right?
Oh, yeah. I would say diarrhea and constipation can be big ones.
Yeah, some women feel that can be signs too.
Absolutely. Your body is going through so many changes. It's going to grow a human, which just blows my mind all the time, even thinking about that.
That's true.
Urinating lots.
Yes, frequent urinating, so you're just constantly going to the toilet. That's true.
Yeah. There's just things that you just
And all of this is happening because of the change in your hormones.
Yeah. The HCG and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dizziness was another one. And then vivid dreams. Some women claim that this may or may not be like early pregnancy, but definitely throughout your first trimester.
Yeah. I would say
vivid dreams, like they feel very real. They could be about anything, from various topics.
Yeah,
and they feel very real.
They really.
I remember I had a dream.
So weird.
With my first baby, I think I told you about the mouse story.
Yeah.
I had a dream that I gave birth to a mouse. And I wanted to breastfeed so badly that I was so embarrassed in my dream to show anybody my baby because my baby was a mouse. And I didn't want to breastfeed a mouse. Like, think like Stuart Little style.
Oh my God.
And I had my baby mouse in the shoebox that I made this little bed for him, like his little bassinet. And I was pumping breast milk so that I could bottle feed my baby mouse just because I wanted to breastfeed my baby. And I told Tom he had to make every excuse to so people wouldn't come visit our baby right away. And I could figure out how to control my emotions and people figure out I gave birth to a mouse.
That's so funny.
And it felt so real. It was crazy.
That's so crazy.
Thankfully, I gave birth to a human being.
Yeah, thank goodness. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. I know. That would be like so weird to have a dream about that.
That was probably the weirdest one of my dreams.
I remember when you told me that. Oh my gosh. That's so hilarious.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest one for me was my boobs were sore.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That so sore. Oh, and I couldn't believe this. I was like super newly pregnant, and I remember I went to Palm Springs to go see my husband's family, and we were there for 4 days or 5 days, and then I had planned to fly from Edmonton back into Victoria to go see my family. And I remember when I was there, I just it was so weird. I started to just So I had weird symptoms. And then I remember I was just like so hungry. I'm like, Mom, Dad, can I have a bagel? They're like, sure. And I'm not kidding. I made a bagel and I put cream cheese on it. I put cheddar cheese on it and cucumbers on it. And I'm not kidding. I ate 3 in one sitting. And my dad's literally like, are you pregnant? And I looked at him. I was like,
That's crazy.
maybe. And we were like trying. And so I was like, maybe I am. And then I didn't like bother with testing before that. I just waited until I was past my period. But yeah, isn't that crazy? I'm like,
That is.
whoa, like how did I eat all of that? But then after I felt like that, my mom had said that, my dad said that, I had sore boobs, and I was like,
Yeah.
I knew it. I would say that was the biggest one for me was sore boobs.
Some women I know I've heard, they say it's just like the breast itself just hurts, and other women it's just sensitive nipples, like when they go into the shower and stuff.
Yeah, and mine was just like sore, like someone punched me in the chest.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
With my second, I knew to take a test because I had really sensitive nipples because I was breastfeeding.
And I was still breastfeeding my son at the time too. Not like all the time, but he was.
Yeah, same.
I found out right after my son turned 1.
Yeah.
That I was pregnant. So it was like, yeah, I was still nursing him. I still nursed him until he was like 18 months. So yeah, everybody's different. You just never know.
That's true. So the first trimester is usually up to 3 months. So month 1, 2, and 3. And that's like around 12 weeks. Some people say 13, but usually around 12 weeks is what's considered the first trimester. This is when there's the highest risk of miscarriage. That's why a lot of people wait until around 12 weeks to tell people. If you want to tell them right away, you can go do that. If you want to wait until the end when you're showing later on,
I don't know.
That's okay too.
I feel like, though, if you did tell people, then you wouldn't be alone when you did miscarry, right? Like, because people could, like, support you and stuff. So I feel like there's pros and cons to both, but, I mean, do whatever you feel is...
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way.
I always did, but I never had that in the back of my mind. I was like, like that was going to happen, but you never know. It's not in your control. And so, but I was always like, well, if anything ever happened, then I have people that can, support me and love me and check on me.
That's why I always just announced right away too.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I probably would have told people anyways.
Yeah, me too.
So that's why I decided that. But
a lot of people do wait until the 12-week mark because you're just less likely to have that happen.
Yeah.
So
this is the point where you don't really have a pregnancy belly yet either. You may have a little belly, but it's usually just bloating. And this is when women usually say, oh, or I just look like I'm fat. I don't even look like I'm pregnant. Well, I mean, kind of. but that's normal. It's okay.
For real, that's super normal. And yeah, it's just the awkward stage.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get that cute bump. But not everybody does, my friend.
Everyone shows different, yes.
My friend, because she's so tall, she was always so jealous of my like big belly. And it's just funny because even when she carried twins, she didn't have like a huge belly. But she's so tall, and so there was more room. I don't know.
Your height, your weight, those all contribute to how your belly will look throughout your pregnancy. It's true.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people will start showing sooner. Some people don't show until like 3rd trimester.
Yeah.
Some people, it'll look different, like the shape of your belly. Yeah. It's not, there's an old wives' tale, the shape of your belly can, like if you carry high or low, it's boy or girl.
Yeah.
But that actually isn't true.
It's girl.
That actually has to do with your
low.
body structure.
It's a boy. Yeah, absolutely.
Because people thought, which was it? My second, I carried like a boy, and it was a girl. But it's just the way my body was.
It's just what happens.
Yeah. But that's, if you feel like you just look fat and you're just bloated or whatever, that's totally normal. Yeah. It's hard to deal with because you're excited to get the pregnancy belly, but it is normal.
It eventually comes. Yeah. That's super normal.
There's a lot of emotions attached to this too, right? Yeah. So if you were planning for this baby, you're probably going to be more excited. But then you might have moments, whether you planned, whether it was surprised you, whatever, you might have moments still of being nervous or worried about what to expect, worried about losing the baby, worried about if you're going to be a good enough mom. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Even when you're trying and like it happens, you're like, oh my goodness, it's really worked. It's happening. It's okay to feel that way for sure.
And you'll be very hormonal, so like the emotions. I remember crying at weird commercials.
My sister-in-law would cry because she would, I think she said, her husband drank all the milk or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like silly things you might cry about.
And I remember her saying, I just like cried. And I was like, yeah, that's pregnancy hormones.
I remember crying about really silly things. And then Tom would tell me, like, honey, I think like this might just be the hormones from the pregnancy. And then I'd be like,
it's not hormones.
I know that he's right. And then I'd start crying even harder because I'm like crying that I'm crying. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying.
This is so nice.
I can't control it. He's like, I don't know what I should do. I'm like, just hug me.
Just shut up. Just shut up and hug me.
I'm sure he was very confused.
Oh my goodness. Like women's hormones are out of this world.
I don't know. I feel like for me, pregnancy is like PMS on overdrive.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's crazy.
Absolutely. I would have to agree.
Way more moody when I'm pregnant than when I'm just PMSing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And everyone's different too. Some people have like no symptoms. They
don't
even know they're pregnant. They're like,
they have a whole show around it.
I'm fine. Well, yeah. And then they just birth a baby in a toilet and they have no idea.
I don't understand that, but it does happen.
Absolutely. I've heard it. Yeah. So you never know what you're going to be like. Just know that it's totally normal if you're just ridiculous. It's okay. It's not you.
Although, it's not an excuse just to be mean to everyone.
True.
So you have to be careful. It's a balancing act.
True. You can get away with it a little bit with your spouse. Okay? just a teeny bit once in a while.
Something else to remember is when you do take a pregnancy test, if it's negative, it does not necessarily mean you're not pregnant.
It does not, because I 100% knew I was pregnant with my son. And I was like, no freaking way this is negative. And then, it was just too early to tell.
Yeah. So they say if you can wait 2 days, the HCG levels, which is what your pregnancy test is reading, will double. But I mean, how many women wait 2 days? Usually the next morning or later that evening. You try again.
Or if you want to get a real accurate pee in the morning, because your pee in the morning is more strong.
Yeah, it's more diluted. Or less diluted.
Less diluted. It's like you're gonna have like
it's more concentrated. Pee. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you haven't been drinking.
Exactly. So that's what they say. Test in the morning, because your chances of seeing a positive pregnancy test are higher.
And when you get a positive test and you know you're pregnant, Jacqueline, when should we contact a healthcare provider, especially if it's a midwife in Alberta?
If it's a midwife, you don't have very long. You're already behind before you even try contact them. They actually say the running joke is call the midwife and then call your husband.
Yeah.
With a doctor, they'll always take you. But midwives, there's just not enough funding for care.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of thousands of women on waiting lists.
At least in Alberta where we are,
Yeah. And in BC, I didn't know this, they don't even cover them. They're like
a lot of provinces don't actually.
Thank you, Jesus, I live in Alberta.
I know, I was very grateful for that too.
Oh, I could not. Like, how do you do that? I don't know. I guess I would just find money, because there was no way I was going to a hospital to have a doctor.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone else if you like doctors, but I personally just
need to do what you personally feel comfortable with.
I wanted to be at home, and they do not support that. And so, yeah, it was just a big deal. And I'm just so grateful that we're one of the provinces in Canada that do. In the States, there's a lot of places you can't. It's illegal, which is nuts to have homers.
Some places, yeah.
Yeah.
They're getting more progressive at some places.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I'm just so grateful. I truly am.
Even if you get a healthcare provider right away, though, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be like having a bunch of appointments, because they actually don't really see you much.
So
in the
you're
beginning.
you're like 20 weeks, like really 18 maybe is the first time
the first trimester, you might see them only once.
Maybe once.
If you're high risk, you might see them a couple times for
doctors.
Tests or
the
whatever.
thing is, it's very different, because I was talking to a friend and she's like, I didn't know that you could deny things with a doctor. I'm like, you can always, but they don't make it sound like that.
Yeah.
So like they're like, they want to send you for an ultrasound, like a dating ultrasound. They want you to go get blood work done. If you don't want to do those things, you absolutely don't have to. But I did it for sure with my first and second, because I didn't really know what to expect. But with my third, I didn't, and I was totally fine. But it's all about what the mom wants. It's like what you feel comfortable doing, and you can turn any of that down. You don't have to do it.
That's true.
She just had no clue. She's like, what? Because she said they would check her all the time. I'm like, no, you don't need those all the time.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
To figure out your due date, they will go off of your last menstrual period. So if you can remember
the first day of your last,
if you can remember the first day of your last menstrual period, then they'll use that to calculate it.
Yeah.
And there's also like due date calculators online. If you can use your last menstrual period to figure it out then.
Yeah.
And then if you have no idea, or if you have extremely irregular periods, it's usually when they'll suggest going and doing a dating ultrasound.
Because then they can just get an idea of the size of the baby, and then when they know the size of the fetus, then they're like, okay, you're
approximately 4 weeks and 2 days, or 6 weeks and 1 day, or whatever. Right?
It just gives you an idea, just so you know when to expect when you're going to deliver your baby.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to know if you want to. But most of the time, if you do know your period, you have an idea.
Yeah, that's true. I never did any of the dating ultrasounds because I always tracked my cycles.
Yeah, totally. I didn't do ultrasound for that either. I only did 20 weeks.
Yeah. So then the next scheduled ultrasound that they like to do
20
is
between
20
18
weeks. Yeah. It's like the second trimester. A lot of people call it the anatomy scan.
Yeah.
That's the one that a lot of people will check the gender, but they're really, the point of it, the main point is actually just checking all of the body. But we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Yeah.
Some of the signs and symptoms that are worrisome that you want to contact the doctor for.
Any bleeding.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing.
I mean, any bleeding, I guess you'd want to.
You just want to know.
If it's very light spotting, I probably wouldn't. But if you feel uncomfortable, always go.
Absolutely. And
heavy bleeding, 100%, yes.
At the end of the day, you're not really supposed to have blood at all. So it is good to maybe check, because you could also have an infection, like a urinary
light spotting can be normal though.
It can be, exactly. You just never know. So if you ever feel like you're unsure, always contact your healthcare provider. I would say.
If you had really, really bad cramping, severe abdominal pain,
that can be scary.
Light cramping is normal, but I'd say severe would not be good.
No.
I'd be worried about that. If it hurts to pee, painful urination.
Yeah, because you could also have an infection, like a urinary tract infection, and that can cause issues. And I believe even miscarrying babies, it can be very dangerous.
It might.
Yeah.
It might make you at risk.
Yeah, so you just want to always know that, just in case, that everything's okay, and it's not bad to be too cautious. It's not a bad thing.
If anything feels off, it's always better to check.
Just always check. Absolutely.
If you have high fever,
That's not good. Yeah.
Definitely if it gets to 40.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if that fever is accompanied by chills and aches, that means that you probably have an infection of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
That's your body trying to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. You said vision.
Yeah, vision disturbances. That can be blood pressure problems.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what else it was. There's a couple things that could be. That'd be
preeclampsia.
Yeah, that.
Right? I feel like that's the
something
one that they always said, like, you want to look for that, like, puffiness in your feet.
Which
and in
also,
your hands.
You can get that after you deliver the baby, by the way.
I know. I actually heard of somebody.
I knew someone that had that.
I know someone who knows someone in Victoria, and they had their baby, and then they actually passed away.
Oh, that's sad.
And left behind the little girl and the dad. So
no.
It can actually happen after too. I know, it was so sad. I believe she had like her own clothing store, and she had something, and they were doing something for her a long time. This was like last year or something. It was heartbreaking.
That's why it's good to know the signs to look for.
It's good to know the signs, what to look for, and then you can usually catch it before it gets really bad.
It's true.
But if you don't know what you're looking for and you're just ignoring it as something else, it could, because what it does is it shuts down your organ.
Yeah, it's true.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Severe puffiness.
Know what that is. Yeah.
In your hands and face would be edema, like you're holding in fluid. That would be very dangerous too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good just if there's anything that's off, just to contact your healthcare provider.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, you want to talk about prenatals?
Yes. So if you were trying to get pregnant, or if you just found out you're pregnant, you need to really think about your nutrition. And something that a lot of people, especially like the healthcare providers, recommend is taking prenatal vitamins. If you just take anything, though, it may not actually be benefiting you.
And constipate you.
And it can actually be bad for you. There are a few brands that are better than others, obviously.
Natural.
You want something
fruit and vegetable, like
more natural.
base.
We talked about this in one of our other past episodes, optimal nutrition in pregnancy, and we had Sarah Klesko, a holistic nutritional
consultant who shared with us.
Yeah, she shared with us about this conversation. We had a conversation about this, actually.
Yeah, and she talked about all of the things, and so definitely refer back to that. I can't remember what episode, maybe like 4 or something.
Yeah, I don't know what number, but it's called Optimal Nutrition in Pregnancy. That's a tongue twister for me for some reason.
Yeah. And it is 12 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But yeah, I would say I did not have good nutrition with my son.
Yeah.
And it showed. He was only 5 pounds 11 ounces. He was teeny tiny, and he was only 4 days early. And it's really important. I want to say that I did not give him the best start. So then I learned the second time that my daughter ended up being 8 pounds. So, and my nutrition was way better. So yeah. I drank a lot of ice caps because of nausea, and I ate a lot of bagels. So
they say folic acid is the one that they're most worried about.
Yes.
And again, Sarah shared with us
in folate
about that as well,
which is food instead of
which is way better to get.
It's absorbed in the body, absolutely.
So then, along with the prenatals, just you're saying good nutrition, like that's so important. Because everything you eat is going to the baby. The baby's eating the same thing you're eating.
Absolutely.
So if you're just eating junk, well, the baby's going to be eating junk. If you're not eating anything, the baby's not really getting anything. The baby, the one saving grace is that the baby gets food first. Your body literally will give the nutrition to baby, and then you get what's left over.
That's why you're depleted. That's why your teeth suck after.
They can,
Usually.
Yeah.
Because they take your calcium.
Your teeth can be really bad. Your eyesight can get worse.
Absolutely. Yeah, they take a lot.
That's for another podcast, though.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely talk about that
Postpartum
too.
stuff, yeah.
Postpartum things,
So you need to be thinking about nutrition. I mean, if you're having really bad morning sickness, that's harder to do. But the key, I think, is probably just eating like small amounts throughout the day instead of like big meals. And then paying attention to your body. And if you're craving something, it's because your body needs something.
Just be mindful.
Yeah. But like, I mean, your body, I'm sure, doesn't need that giant tub of ice cream and Oreos, but maybe it's saying it needs something else, right?
But sometimes it's okay. Just not every single day.
Yeah, you don't need it all the time.
No. Your thing is just try your hardest to eat.
And staying hydrated.
To eat a good, diet, and obviously drink lots of water all the time. That's super important.
Mm-hmm. And exercising.
Yeah, moving your body. That's very important.
They say anything you did before pregnancy, just keep continuing it.
Don't, like, if you're not a runner, don't just
start running now that you're
running
pregnant.
a marathon.
Yeah. If you've never done
no,
I don't know.
If you've never done weight training,
yeah.
Don't just go and do that.
Don't go start now.
But a lot of people, they continue it throughout their whole entire pregnancy, and it's totally healthy. It's just anything that's shocking, they'll talk about, even like smoking, to ease off slowly, because it can be really shocking to your body, and
it's true.
Dangerous
and if
to your
you
body.
didn't exercise, start just by walking and swimming. They say those are the two best things for pregnancy.
And stretching. Because you might have to do some sweet stretches and sweet squats to try squat your baby out.
Stretches are a good practice, yeah.
You want to be in good shape, because
we should make a course on, is like positions to practice for labor.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that will come out too.
Keep your eyes peeled.
But for real, though, like, that's really important.
It's true.
Because it's going to be like running a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And you've never done that before.
Yeah.
So getting your body prepared for that is super important.
That's true. Oh, some people also, I'm just thinking about like what to do in the first trimester.
Yeah.
We talked about the ultrasound.
Yeah.
And you kind of briefly talked about blood work. The blood work, they'll check for iron. And they'll check for... Yeah, is that the only STI, or is there another?
They look for chlamydia, and I just don't do that test because.
Or that's from the.
No.
Pee in a cup, or from the blood work?
No, it's the blood work.
Oh,
they're looking for that, and it's like. Well, I only have one partner.
I didn't care, but I said yes.
I know
I was taking it anyway.
I know my husband doesn't. I was like, I think I'm good, but I did it the first time because I didn't really know. I wasn't educated. Yeah. And it can be dangerous if you have chlamydia when you're pregnant. It can cause issues.
It would,
So it's important. I mean, but if you know that you probably don't, you're probably fine.
Yeah.
But it's all up to you, whatever you want. These are just routine things that they're going to check for. And your iron. I had really low iron both times. And
it's very common in pregnancy.
It's brutal. But yeah, like, you just have to...
They also, around 10 weeks, will offer genetic testing. For people that want to do that.
Yeah. You don't have to, but they offer.
There's a couple different ways that they do it.
There's the needle in the stomach, and they
blood work.
They don't really tell you, but there is a chance you can miscarry your baby when they do that.
Yeah, so there are risks for it, but some people do it because they want to know if their child has Down syndrome or congenital heart defects. Or other chromosomal abnormalities, because there's a few different kinds.
Yeah, my friend's baby was born with trisomy 18.
Personally, I didn't want to take the risk because I didn't care. I felt like it didn't matter either way.
Absolutely, I didn't. And I'm terrified of needles, so
even more
screw that.
So I was like, no, I'm good. But that's an option for people who choose to do that at that point as well. I think it's
Absolutely.
10 to 13 weeks that they do that.
I think so, yeah. There's that option. And they also say as you get older, I mean, they say you're geriatric pregnancy at 35, so I would be next year. I don't think that's true.
It is crazy.
That's crazy. Do I look like a geriatric?
You sure
No.
do.
Well, today, maybe I do today. No, but I probably actually kind of do today because, well, I just have my old granny gear on today. I don't know.
You're a mom.
I'm a mom.
You're a beautiful mom. Don't worry about it.
I barely brushed my hair today. It was a good day. It was a good day.
But you made it to my house.
I did. There you go. There you go. Should we talk about what to avoid? Or we could talk about, okay, we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about things that happen.
Sex.
Yeah.
Sex is okay.
Yeah, it
and
is.
very encouraged if you want to do it.
That's huge.
That's something that I think a lot of people aren't sure about either, especially the first pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't know, like, is it okay if I'm pregnant to continue? Or
Absolutely.
is there certain, like, positions I should avoid? And not just the first trimester, but, like, the entire pregnancy.
As long as you feel good.
Do whatever you want to do and you feel comfortable doing, unless you've been put on bed rest.
Unless you've been put on bed rest like I did at, 20 weeks, because I had a low-lying placenta, and I was not allowed for it was like 6-7 weeks. I wasn't allowed to sweep or do anything, vacuum. I wasn't allowed to have sex, and that was really brutal. But also, it's because the placenta was so low, and they were just afraid that I would hemorrhage. So
yeah.
There's reasons why, but if your doctor does not say there's any concerns, or your healthcare provider, then you're fine.
Yeah.
It's all about how you feel.
It will not cause a miscarriage.
No.
It's good to stay connected to your partner still.
Absolutely. And
continue on.
Continue on. Just do what you feel feels right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What else did you say?
And then things that you need to avoid.
Yeah, so I definitely had been told, I don't know if it was before Ben, but litter boxes, they are toxic. So
the what is it, the cat poo?
Yeah.
It can contain some kind of toxin. I can't remember exactly either. I never had cats, so I didn't pay that close attention. You
just have to be really careful.
It can give you, I wrote it down, toxoplasmosis.
Yeah, so you just don't want that.
Yeah, which could be dangerous for you and your baby.
Nobody wants it.
So, if you are pregnant and you have a cat, take this opportunity to let somebody else in the household
do it. Who doesn't want a clean poo? Like, it's gonna smell. Just be like, that's gonna make me vomit too.
Well, yeah, that's a whole
other
thing too.
Disgusting. Yeah. And then you're just gonna have two messes. So I say, just if you have somebody,
so you get out of litter box duty,
or a husband or spouse, just make them do it.
Yeah,
just avoid it.
Yeah, they say to avoid hot tubs and saunas. I still did use the hot tub though,
but for certain times,
but for shorter durations.
And not super hot either.
My midwife said that as long as you're paying attention to your body, so if you're staying in there long enough to feel dizzy.
Yeah.
To get super red.
Yeah.
Though that means it's dangerous. The baby's not going to cook just because you go in there and like burn. Yeah. But the problem that they actually have is that
it's your blood pressure.
Your blood pressure increases, and then that affects the baby.
And then affects the baby when your blood pressure. Yeah.
So if you are going to, very, very short durations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take breaks, take cold showers in between, something like that.
Yeah. Alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol is a huge one.
You don't want to avoid
alcohol
syndrome.
It's very, it's something that this is widely talked about now.
Yeah.
You'll see it advertised everywhere. So, I mean, it is, some people will say, like a small glass of wine here or there.
Well, they did that. Where was it? Where it's so common. I don't know.
Like in Europe somewhere?
Yeah, because they drink wine all the time. Yeah. And so, I mean...
It's just, they've never done studies to show how much is safe.
Yeah.
Because it's unethical to do those studies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
So
so I just avoided
they
it
don't
at
know
all
at what
costs.
point. But then, I mean, that's why we're always told, like, just avoid it. It's just safer to avoid it because you don't know. Like, who wants to chance that?
Nobody does.
But on the other hand, like, later on, when you're in labor, sometimes having a small glass of wine helps, like, just calm you down and get things going.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But I would definitely not avoid having, like, regular consumption of alcohol whatsoever.
Absolutely, I wouldn't
It's
do
dangerous,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely, just like uncooked foods. They
Yeah.
say like sushi, that sort of stuff. Yeah, gotta
Yeah,
just
and
be careful.
Isn't that because of, like, salmonella or
I think
something
so.
else maybe? I don't know.
think so.
They say you're more likely to get, like, sick
Yeah,
with
and
uncooked
you
food.
just don't want to do that.
I mean, it's your own risk, so
It's
whatever
your
you
own
feel
risk.
comfortable with. But
I still had
I
cold
think it's
cut meat,
suggested
but
not
I
to.
just cooked it.
Oh, I definitely still ate that.
Oh, you did? Bad girl. Just kidding. No, I just
And
fry it.
I
on a
eat
frying
raw
pan.
cheese still because I like raw milk cheese.
Bad girl.
But I personally didn't feel like there's anything wrong with that.
No, it's not gonna hurt.
But I didn't feel comfortable to, like, eat sushi and things like that.
I don't eat sushi anyways. It's gross.
You're crazy. It's so good.
Everybody says that. My husband's like, it's so good. I'm like, ugh. Gross.
And then if you're a smoker, you want to try to, if you didn't do very much, quit smoking.
Yeah.
And
But
if you can't,
constant,
then talk to your doctor or midwife about it and slowly wean down because smoking is dangerous for the baby too.
Affects you, and just all of a sudden stopping cold turkey can cause issues. So
yeah,
I would say definitely do not just quit cold turkey. Do it slowly.
It's true.
Do you want to talk about what you notice? These are just things that how the baby develops.
Oh yeah, I guess we can end on that note.
Yeah.
I wrote down some of the timelines of highlights of the first trimester.
Oh, right there.
So, baby's bones, by week 6, the baby's already sprouting arms, legs, hands, and feet. By week 10, the baby has fingers and toes.
Why do they have fingernails? Like, for real. They just, like, shred you from the inside.
This, like, tiny little baby.
Actually, I have a friend that actually happened when she was giving birth. They went,
oh my goodness.
Cut her inside.
A lot of babies are born with long nails. It's crazy.
Why? I don't get that. That's creepy.
So their hair, their hair and nails, by week 5, between weeks 5 and 8, their skin is forming already. So it starts very translucent and then it gets darker.
Cool.
By week 11, they already have hair follicles and the nail beds are forming.
That's wild. And they're like at this point, like till they're like 12 weeks, or like
they still look like an alien too.
They look like an alien.
Yeah.
And they're so teeny.
Yeah. The digestive system. Week 8, the intestines begin forming. The kidneys begin forming.
It's just the coolest thing ever.
Sense of touch. Week 8, touch receptors on the face, mostly the lips and nose, start to form.
So cool.
By week 12, other touch receptors are forming on the genitals, the palms, the soles of the feet, like all over the body now. By week 12, by the end of your first trimester.
And they're like this small. They're like.
And eyesight. Week 4, the optic nerves begin to form. The optic nerves are the part of the eye that passes information from your eyes to your brain and then back to your eyes. Week 4, that's like when you get your positive test.
That's
like
wild.
Right away. That's crazy. Week 8, the retina is beginning to form. For the heart, week 5, the tube that turns into the heart starts to beat. Mm-hmm. And usually for most people between weeks 9 and 10, you start to hear a heartbeat already, which is pretty amazing. That first time you get to hear a heartbeat is so cool. Yeah, with the Doppler, they can hear it a lot earlier. Yeah. And if you choose not to use a Doppler, then the fetoscope is the second trimester, I think you get to start hearing it. Yeah. The brain, week 8, the brain is already starting to grow and develop.
So cool.
And sense of taste, week 8, the taste buds start. They don't actually taste anything yet, but they're starting to form. And they eventually will be tasting your amniotic fluid, which is actually whatever you ate last.
Wow.
Which is so amazing. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So all of this just in that first trimester.
Yeah, I know. And there's still so little. And there's so much more to happen in the second and third. So, yeah, that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, so stay tuned for
Number 2.
Yeah, trimester number 2, and then followed by that, trimester number 3.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys learned something.
Yeah. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
We hope you guys have a good night.
Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you're not up as late as we are recording this. Bye, everyone.
Bye.